Warning! In honor of our guest today, this is a very different episode of Relax and Chat. Episode 13 with horror writer metalhead JJ Kimmorist. We're gonna make some noise. Hi JJ, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. For those in the audience that may not know you, how about if you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is JJ Kimmorist. I write mostly dark fantasy. I also dabble a little bit in horror and science fiction. And yeah, I also run a couple of YouTube channels. I run one where I talk about my writing journey, and then I run another where I basically talk about heavy metal music, since I'm a big metalhead. And I talk a lot about storytelling and how it goes hand in hand with music in the metal genre.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know if I can catch up with you on the metalhead thing. I'm a lot older than you are, and
it's a very niche genre.
I think the hardest music I listened to was Judas Priest and Godsmack. You ever heard of either?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love Judas Priest. I went and saw them a few years back.
Sinner and Saints was one of my favorite songs. I loved it. And
oh yeah.
Of course, I grew up with Ozzy and Led Zeppelin, and
Oh yeah.
I kind of grew up in that era, and Metallica, but then I get frowned at sometimes because I love the song Unforgiven too. And a lot of Metallica fans don't like it. I don't know why, but
yeah, there's a whole thing with the new versus old fans, and it's a whole thing.
All right. Well, I got these little questions. I'll go ahead and jump into those. To begin with, this is always interesting. Do you consider yourself as a writer to be a pantser or a plotter, and why?
I'm definitely a plotter. I've tried pantsing. My first novel I wrote, I pantsed that one, and it was really just a giant mess. So I absolutely need some kind of framework to work off of, or I get a little lost. And then if I have a outline that I'm working from and I know where I'm going with it, then it kind of takes a lot of the pressure off trying to come up with something good, as you're creating.
Yeah, I can see that. That makes a lot of sense. I'm a pantser, but I can see where you're coming from, though. It makes sense. All right. And then this is something I think every writer deals with, no matter where they are in their career. And that is, how do you balance your time between being able to sit down and write and everything else that goes on in your life? Because writing takes a lot of time. How have you been able to balance that?
Yeah, so it's definitely the struggle, but I'm one of those really annoying morning people. So I get up at like 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and I write for a couple hours before work. And yeah, that's what works for me, because by the time I get home from work, and I try and write in the evenings, and I can write in the evenings, but usually by then the words come really, really slow. So I always try and set aside some time in the morning to write.
Oh, I couldn't begin to get up that early. I've been self-employed a long time, and one of the first things I did was decide I'm not getting up at 4:30 or 5.
Well, I mean, but I'm like an old lady too, so I go to bed at like 8 o'clock. So it's not that bad.
Because I looked at your awesome website, loved it, and I saw that you've written quite a few stories and books, and so this ought to be fun. To date, what is the most fun story you ever wrote that you really enjoyed writing it?
Yeah, that one's tough, but I think I'm gonna have to go with the young adult fantasy novel that I actually just sold to a small press publisher. So it's titled Trials for the Haunted, and it has a tentative release date of November of this year. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. It took me about a year to write and revise the whole thing, and I do think it's probably some of my best work in there. But yeah, it's my favorite just because I think it was what I had wanted, the story I had wanted to write when I wrote my first book. Of course, when you write your first book, it's always just going to be a little bit of a mess. And my first book was not great, but this next one that I wrote, I took all the things that I liked about the first book, and then I made it into a story that was actually cohesive and stuff like that. But yeah, it's basically it's a dark fantasy, so it's a lot of blood and gore and a little bit of romance thrown in there, set in kind of this gritty world of perpetual darkness that's sort of inspired by the lawlessness of the Wild West.
Oh, awesome. It sounds very cool. And that's coming out in November?
Hopefully, yeah, tentatively. We haven't set an exact release date yet, but that's what we're shooting towards.
Well, somewhere around May or June, I'll ask you to come back on and we'll promote that and get it going.
Awesome, yeah.
A couple of editors that I've spoken with, and one lady that owns a small press recommended starting your marketing, trying to promote your books sort of like 4 to 6 months early, before
Oh, yeah.
it's out. So if you would like coming back to the show to be part of your marketing, you'd certainly be welcome.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to.
Have you back again. That'd be awesome. Okay, our next question, and this one can be fun. Think about it for a moment if you need to, but what was the hardest scene that you ever wrote that you wondered if you were ever going to get it on paper? It was hard.
So yeah, that's a tough one because I feel like a lot of scenes are hard for me, but a lot of action scenes I actually struggle with just getting the right I don't know, placement and blocking of all the characters. But the big one that comes to mind is like writing finales is always hard too because you're always juggling, the plot threads and the character arcs, and they have to culminate at the same time. So there's a lot to juggle with that. But in the book Trials for the Haunted, the dark fantasy one I just talked about, the finale for that was difficult for me. I kind of just threw it on the page and I knew it was not that good, and it took a lot of revision and a lot of different versions of it for me to finally get that finale to work out right. So yeah, that's probably the most difficult one so far.
Oh, well, I can't wait I imagine you don't even have a cover for that yet, do you?
No, not yet.
Yeah, I can't wait for it to come out though. It sounds really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Then we'll flip it over then. What would you say is the most fun scene you ever wrote that you just had a ball writing that one?
Yeah, no, that's a difficult question too. I'm trying to think go through all the scenes that I have in my portfolio, but I think the easiest ones are the ones that just kind of flow right out of you without any effort, and they just appear on the page as if you hadn't put any thought into them, and they're actually decent the first time through. Because I tend to write pretty sloppy first drafts, but if there's good writing in the first draft, I know that's something unusual to cherish, I guess. But in the novella Harris that I just published, one of my favorite scenes in that novella, and actually what people tend to tell me is their favorite part of the book, is the second chapter. And it's I guess it was fun to write just because it was fun to kind of explore, this one dark world and this character for just a brief scene, and then not have to worry about writing his whole character arc and like the whole plot threads. But yeah, it was basically the second chapter is about this small village that's been ravaged by war, and then to make things worse, the dead begin rising. And so it has this main character who's kind of taken it upon himself to be like the keeper of the dead, and he keeps them all locked away in this graveyard and makes sure they don't go out creating more zombies.
Well, that sounds pretty cool. All I've seen of the Heiress so far is the cover, which I will show now. Click the link in the description below to get this awesome book by J.J. Kimmorist. And I just think it's a rockin' cover. It just looks so cool.
Yeah, so I, of course, was back and forth. Well, if people don't know, I wrote this in alongside the band Illyria, who had their debut album coming out, and it was a concept album. They wanted to have a book accompany the music to turn into like a full immersive story experience. And so I was lucky enough to get chosen by them to write this for them. And yeah, they had a ton of artwork commissioned for the album, and it's really cool to see the stories come to life in all these really dark and beautiful artwork. But anyway, for the cover, they had the idea to have it look sort of like a spell book, and so that was kind of like the idea that we were working with. And they have a really great artist called I think his name is, he goes by like a pseudonym. I think it's Abysm Dark Art. Out of Brazil, and yeah, he's fantastic, and he knocked that cover out in, I think it was 3 days.
Wow.
So yeah,
wow,
it's impressive.
Like I said, I love the cover. I'm real big on promoting the writer's effort. A writer puts an awful lot of work into what they do, and I would have liked to seen your name bigger.
Yeah, I was trying not to put too much emphasis on my own name, since it was, a collaborative effort. We had talked about putting all of our names on the cover, but they're like, oh no, it looks better if it's just your name on there. I'm like, okay, well, it wasn't all me, it was definitely a group effort to come up with all the stories and all that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I could only see what I looked at on Amazon. I think it was the ebook that's on pre-order, and of course I couldn't see the back of the book. Hopefully the band members, you have your names on the back of the book somewhere, do you?
Actually, so the back of the book is just blank. So we definitely committed to the whole spell book looking idea, and that we left it blank, so that's a little bit more mysterious.
Ooh, cool. Yeah. I don't think anybody's ever done that. That's kind of a cool thing, completely different thing to do. I like it. It sounds cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will definitely have a link to your awesome website, a link to both of your YouTube channels. I took a look at both of them. I like them. I said earlier that I'm a little old. I doubt I know many of the bands that you know. But Diamonds and Rust was a kick-ass song.
Oh, yeah.
But I am a little more Stairway to Heaven at this age, Yeah,
the cool thing about the metal community is we definitely pay a lot of homage to, the legends that created the genre. So that, you're going to see a lot of people who are really into metal music, who are my age, really love, Judas Priest and, Iron Maiden and Led Zeppelin and, of course, Black Sabbath and everything, because, they were the pioneers of this incredible music genre. So definitely a lot of fans that still love, the originals.
Wow, I could fit in.
Yes.
I could go to a concert and bang my head like I did 35 years ago. Wow, that sounds fun. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, I knew it would be a pleasure to speak with you. No doubt about it. And I'm so grateful that you were willing to do the show. I could talk to you forever, but I want to make sure that the audience has the pleasure of your company. So I will sit back and hush and enjoy my coffee and my cool, relaxing chat cup. Did you notice that? That rocks. My wifey got me that for Christmas. Love it.
No.
And but I'll cool it, and I would love for you to just relax and say anything you like, promote anything you like, say hello to the audience.
Sure, yeah. Hello, it's nice to meet you all. I invite you all to come check out Eris, which is my newest release. Actually, just released a couple weeks ago. It's available basically everywhere, digital and paperback. Is available Amazon and Barnes and Noble for the paperback. And yeah, it was such a fun project, and it was such a pleasure working with the band and coming up with these really, really dark and gory stories. So if you're a little bit squeamish, maybe not the best choice for you, but it is very dark. And yeah, probably 18 and up, I guess you might say, a little spoiler or a little content warning there. But yeah, it's so much fun, and it's definitely within a genre that I really love. And it was just a pleasure to work with them, and I'm really excited about what we created together. And I hope you all, go check it out. Or if you would rather just get to know me a little bit more before you, subscribe to my book writing stuff, you can feel free to check out my YouTube channels. My writing YouTube channel is basically me just talking about my journey as a writer, a lot of vlogging, and just telling you what I've gone through so far, and step by step, year by year, quarter by quarter. And, you know, kind of, I started writing about 3 years ago, and so, but I'm really excited about where I've gone and what I've accomplished in those 3 years. So if you want to check that out and share the struggles of being a starving artist and a, you know, upcoming author, then go check that out. And then if you're into heavy metal music or rock or anything like that, feel free to check out my other YouTube channel called JJ Head.
Very cool. Very cool. I was curious. The Illyria, that's their debut album that's associated with your novella.
Mm-hmm.
Is their album available on Amazon too?
Yes, definitely available. It's everywhere. You know, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube. It's on iTunes. But yeah, the band is called Illyria, and the album is called Eris. And they are fantastic. I was so pleasantly surprised and shocked, actually, to have a band that's that talented. Because, you know, a lot of, you know, these upcoming bands, you know, you never know what you might get. They might, you know, have some good ideas, but not really have, you know, the execution. But they have everything that I love about progressive death metal. They're a death metal band, so if you don't like the screaming, it might not be the right band for you. But if you are at all interested in, you know, death metal music, then they are absolutely incredible. They also incorporate a lot of different symphonic elements and orchestra into the mix, and it just makes for a really, really immersive experience.
Cool. Sounds cool. Yeah, because I was thinking, of course, I want to get your novella, but I thought, even though I'm a little outdated, I'd get the album too and try to experience what you all put together. I mean, it seems like right from the get-go, the band and you wanted to make more of an experience than just an album or just a novella. I'm guessing it would be really awesome to experience all of it together. Like,
yeah, it's a lot of fun, and yeah, I love that. You know, it's more than just one thing or the other. It's the combination that really makes for it. But I will say though, if you're not into the screamy bits, the opening intro track called Voidborn is just an orchestra track that kind of brings you into the world and kind of sets the tone and the mood for the rest of the album. It has no lyrics in it, but it is very beautiful, and they worked closely with a composer friend of theirs to put that together, and it's a really, really beautiful track.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, it'll be really fun to check that out, you know. I did look on Amazon. They let you have a little sneak peek.
Oh, yeah.
A tiny little part of your book. And I'm not going to, well, I don't think I could do a spoiler. They don't give you very much. But the king's daughter kind of hiding off to the side. I mean, boy, that instantly got you into the story. You know, I mean, it didn't take 10 sentences and I was like, oh yeah, I want to read this.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's very yeah, indulgent in my darker side, I guess you would say, and in the whole, you know, magic and you know, a world of demons and sorcerers, and you know, just a dark place full of war and, you know, awful things that happen, but you know, seeing the beauty in the gore and the ugliness of it is fun.
Well, poor Ozzy, I think he was unjustly considered to be a dark, evil person. It's so cool. But now, come on, Alice Cooper, he danced around in the dark, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, there were quite a few bands back in the old days, you know, even a relatively newer band. You ever heard of Evanescence?
Mm-hmm.
It's got this girl with this beautiful operatic voice, and then this fella kind of barks into the song too, you know, and it's a trip to listen to, though. It's pretty fun to listen to. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it would be fun to kind of incorporate their album with your novella and get the whole experience. That's where I'm headed. I'm going to check it out.
Awesome, thank you.
I hope I'm not too old to enjoy it. I can still that bang.
Yeah.
Do they still do that? Do they still do this? You know?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, always. Yeah.
I think I said I'm at least twice your age, but I'll tell you what, though, it's like a breath of fresh air to look at your website, to check out a few of your videos on your YouTube channels. I did go to the music channel that you have.
Thank
Loved
you.
it. Of course, I was more attracted to the writer channel. This young lady has both audience. So if you're interested in music and writing, there's where you want to go.
That's my tiny little corner of the internet to people of music and writing.
But you do it very, very well. I was very impressed with everything I saw. I really was.
Thank you.
I think I sent you a little message somewhere along the way that, you know, don't doubt yourself. Don't be afraid. Go for it, because you're doing great. You're really, everything I saw was really looking awesome. And like I said, I didn't get to read a lot of your novella, but I'm looking forward to reading all of it, because it looked like it was very well written, looked like you care about your craft. It wasn't sloppy, you know, a lot of editorial errors and stuff. From what I saw, it looked nice and clean. I mean, you're definitely on the right path. So just, you know, keep rocking on.
Yeah.
You know,
Thank you. Yeah, I'm lucky to have a couple of editors that I really are just fantastic. So yeah, they keep me from embarrassing myself with all my typos and grammatical errors.
It's weird because I'm the host of the show and I always try to make my guests feel comfortable. Yet going into this show, I was like so afraid I was going to sound like a terrible nerd.
Not at all. That's 90% of what I do on my, well, mostly my music channel, just nerd out about goofy things.
It is. It's an absolute pleasure to talk with you. You're very charming and you come across on the screen really awesome. Great persona. I don't know if this is your, I don't even know the right word, but pseudonym? Or is it you? But whichever one it is, it's very cool because you do make an excellent appearance. Very well done.
Oh, thank you so much.
Great. Is there anything else that you would like to add to the audience or share about either yourself or your writing?
Not that comes to mind, but I definitely, you know, I want to have you, Rod, on my writing channel too. So, you know, if anyone does head over there, you know, maybe they have a reason to, if you know, they know that you're going to be there as well.
Well, I like to think I'm building a pretty good following. I know I've made some excellent writer friends. In particular, there's a wonderful lady in England, in London. Her name's Kimberly Sheed. She wrote a fantastic novel, and I got to know her. She did the second episode of Relax and Chat, if you want to check it out sometime.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
And, but she is just so charming and so fun to talk with. And we bounce ideas back and forth and stuff like that. It is exactly the perfect picture of what I was hoping for when I learned that if I'm going to be a writer, I need a writer platform and I need to build a base and all of the other stuff that you learn as you go. And I so dreamt of having good writer friends that, you know, not just yes men that would just always tell you that you're great even when you're messing up. You know, I wanted real people to talk with. And Kimberly, she is one of many that have come along that have been just so awesome. I very much hope I can count you amongst my writer friends as we get to know each other better. Because
absolutely. Writer friends are extremely invaluable, especially, you know, the good ones. And I don't mean that to sound, you know, I don't know, but, you know, there are a lot of people out there who start to write and then, you know, kind of end up throwing in the towel, or they get very serious for a period of time. And then, you know, it's a difficult thing to do day after day, year after year. So, to find the people who've really, you know, just plugged away at it when it's difficult, and really, you know, enhance their craft. It's nice to have those people to lean on, and get advice from and share knowledge with.
Yeah, it sure is. It really is. Well, I think we've pretty much covered the show. As I said at the beginning, if you had 10, 12 hours, I could, you know, as long as I have coffee, I could just, you're awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I hope that we will, your show, my show, you know, unrecorded. I don't know, but I hope we can chat more because there's so many wonderful things that I saw on your website that I'd love to talk about. One thing come to mind very quickly, if I can put it in there, is 100-word stories in a collection.
Oh yeah, so that was one of the first things I ever published. When I first started writing, I wrote a few short stories, and I was like, let's see if I can get my feet wet with the whole publishing thing. Or it was really just me testing myself, seeing if I am actually good enough to get published, or if I'm just kidding myself. So that was me. I wrote a bunch of short stories, and I sent them out to all these different anthologies and stuff. And so a couple of them got picked up. And it's I believe it's Ghost Orchid Press, and they do these little anthologies full of tons of just short stories, but they're all exactly 100 words. You cannot be over 100 words or under 100 words. Has to be a whole story in 100 words. And it was a fun little challenge. Each different anthology has a different theme to them. So the ones I'm published in were the one called Beneath, where it's just about underground or things beneath the earth, or things like that. And then the other one is the Cosmos, so it's like a science fiction one. So yeah, I got one little short story in each of those, and so that was really, really fun.
Yeah, I've written quite a few flash fictions, just under 1,000 words, and I found it difficult to flesh out the story and develop the characters in under 1,000 words.
Oh yeah.
100 words. I don't know how you do it.
It's not really much of a story. It's more of just an emotion that you try to invoke, I guess.
I see. That's pretty cool. I mean, it did catch my attention when I was looking at your website. Again, audience, there is so much on her website that you want to see. It is so cool. Definitely check it out.
Thank you.
And I've got to say, I can't wait to read Eris. And you self-published that?
I did, yeah. It was my first experience self-publishing a book, which was a whole learning experience. I wish I would have started way sooner. I wish I would have not procrastinated on certain things. But I'm happy that it's here, and that most of the like formatting and all uploading and all that headache is over, and it's just out there on the internet now for people to buy. But yeah, it was a fun learning process doing that.
Yeah, I did something similar. I wrote a little book. It's just 3 short stories, and 2 of them are flash fiction. It's called The Hero, the Fear, and the Date. And you may have seen some little advertisement for it. And the whole book is like 38 pages, but I did it for the same reason you did. I wanted to see if I could do it,
Yeah.
I wanted to, because I feel like I'm a fairly good writer, but this whole publish your book thing is a whole new world to me, And I wrote when I was in my early 20s, and I had 5 years of writing, and I met a young lady who was quite charming, just charming enough to steal everything I wrote. It was all gone. And back then it was pen and paper. And I was so disheartened, I didn't write anything again for 30 years.
Oh, man.
And I met T.S. Hoddle, an exceptional sci-fi writer, somebody that really impressed me. And I'm standing there holding his book, and it just hit me. I remembered just how much I loved writing stories. So, about 1.5 years ago, I started writing at my age. And I've got a novel. It's a work in progress that I think is going to be really successful. I think it's awesome. I'm writing a little novella that, so I guess you'd say a YA fantasy. The novel is a paranormal thriller. And I've written a handful, quite a lot of short stories thus far. And I've got a short story coming out in Running Wild Press Anthology 7. So if you take a look at The Writer Within, because that's me.
Awesome. Yeah, I look forward to checking that out. Yeah, and good luck on the novel. I know that is such an undertaking, and it's just people don't know the work and the hours and the frustrations that go into completing a full novel.
Definitely. It took me 3 months to write the first draft. I think that was relatively quick. But
that is quick. Yeah.
I'm a pantser, so like you said earlier, I had 3 months of gibberish and scribble. And ever since then, and now it's over 1 year in rewrites and editing, and I'm very particular. I have a background as an entrepreneur with contracts and as an accountant, so I'm a detailed nut. And between Pro Writing Aid and Hemingway Editor and 3 other softwares, I self-edit the heck out of my work, and it's taking forever.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. My novel that I wrote, the Trials for the Haunted one, I think I wrote it in 2 months, the first draft, and then I spent the whole rest of the year revising it, because that's how long it takes to revise.
Now, I don't think your average person realizes, there's a lot of people, and you said a lot of people drop out. That's because they're like, I want to be a writer.
But
And
it's hard.
then they don't realize there's a lot of work in it,
And then don't even get me started on the rejection too. That's something. Well, that's a whole other skill that you have to learn that I think a lot of people don't realize at first, is that is a skill to kind of toughen your skin, and how you have to believe in yourself, especially when other people don't believe in you.
Yeah,
So that is tough, and that is something that I had to learn over the past couple of years.
Yeah, I've had a lot of experience with what you just said. I won't go into all of it right now, but yeah, I can totally relate to what you just said.
Yeah.
And one of Stephen King's famous quotes was "Get a bigger nail," and he was referring to how many rejection slips he got. And I love that mentality though. Don't give up. That's the biggest thing. If you're going to be a writer, I am a super impatient man. If I'm in the mood for coffee, I want it 5 minutes ago. I don't want to have get that Keurig K-cup cranking, man. Come on.
Yeah.
But I've learned since I became a writer that everything in the writing world takes a long time. Nothing goes fast. Hand it off to a small press or even one of the big presses, one of the big five. A year can be as much as 5 years if you go to like Random House or something like that. Long time. This ain't gonna happen overnight,
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Which is kind of the nice thing about the indie publishing market, is that things get to market so much faster because we don't have to wait. You don't have to wait on all of the bureaucratic stuff and the paperwork and all that stuff, which is really, I think, changed the face of the publishing industry quite a bit, is how quickly these indie authors get their work out there, and they, I think, really influence the the I don't know where I'm going, the trends, I guess, of what people are seeing. And then the traditional publishing houses, not to rag on them or anything, because I do want to be traditionally published through a big five publishing house one day, maybe. But I think they sometimes have to play catch up with the indie authors who are doing really well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the whole industry, like every industry these days, is changing. We're in a transitional period. Probably over the next 5 years, there's going to be so many changes in how we do things and stuff like that. Like there's always that argument, will ebooks take over and paperbacks be gone? No, paperbacks ain't going to be gone. But ebooks are a vital part of it nowadays. It's not just a little thing.
Yeah, it's crazy because 10 years ago, no one thought the ebook would take off. They tried it and people are like, "Duh, this Kindle thing is not, and I don't like it." And they're like, "Duh, ebooks, that's never going to be a thing." But now it's a thing.
Well, I certainly hope you'll be willing to get together again, your channel, my channel, wherever. I love talking with you. It's a breath of fresh air, and it's such a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely.